This is Outnumbered. I'm Andrea Tanteros, and here today, Harris Faulkner, Sandra Smith, Jedediah Bila, and today's hashtag One Lucky Guy, Tucker Carlson, and he's outnumbered yet again. Hi,
hey,
Tucker.
Profoundly.
Hey.
Nice to see you. Thanks for having me back.
Welcome back. Seen you in a while.
You flew in from Maine just for us.
Yes,
right?
I did.
Are you happy about that?
Are you kidding? I woke up early with you on my mind. And not for the first time.
Oh, that sounds like a country western song. I woke up with you on my mind. It does. I like it. We usually save that for later in the hour, Tucker.
Well, I woke up with this on my mind because we have to talk about it. So I got the email very early. Right now, House Republicans taking their first big step in Speaker John Boehner's lawsuit against President Obama. They're holding a hearing that would give the Speaker the right to sue the president over his changes to implementing Obamacare. Rules Committee Chair Pete Sessions.
Under President Obama, the executive branch has increasingly gone beyond the constraints of the Constitution. In fact, in a number of instances, the president has gone beyond his Article II powers to enforce the law and has infringed upon Article I powers of Congress to write the law.
At the same time, House Democrats, who are calling Speaker Boehner's lawsuit an election season gimmick, gathering on the steps of the Capitol to reveal their plan to retake the House. A bold idea when you consider the history that Democrats are up against. The party of a two-term president usually loses seats at this point of the presidency. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi.
Republicans are inside wasting time and taxpayer money on partisan lawsuits against the president. Republicans are about process. Democrats are about progress. Republican process, Democratic progress. Democrats.
Well, you can count on the White House having its fellow Democrats' backs. The administration saying it's the Republicans who are standing in the way of common sense measures like boosting the minimum wage, guaranteeing equal pay, or reducing the cost of going to college. White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest.
I think that you've seen a steady, consistent drumbeat from congressional Republicans opposing common sense measures time and again that the president and other Democrats have advocated. At the risk of sounding like a character on a police drama, Republicans have a little bit of a rap sheet when it comes to blocking common sense proposals that would benefit middle-class families.
All right, I want to get right to this lawsuit, Tucker, because there is some competing schools of thought, even in the Republican Party. Do you think that this lawsuit by John Boehner about executive orders, specifically the employer mandate, is an election year gimmick, or do you think this is a legitimate constitutional issue that should be pursued?
I can't get past what Josh Earnest just said. If Republicans were smart, they would stop everything and address that one point. Obama has presided over the destruction of the American middle class. If he's so on the side of the middle class, then why is the carried interest exemption still in place? Why have earnings remained stagnant or gone down for middle class families? I mean, that is unbelievable that he could say that without being challenged. Is this a good idea or not? I don't know. I'm actually skeptical. The one year that the president's party made gains at a midterm, 1998. Because the Democrats are able to say, look, they're persecuting the president with impeachment. Can they do that again this year? Probably not. But the Congress has a constitutional authority to defund things it doesn't like. That's the way it should deal with overreach, in my opinion. But
what do you think about that, Sandra? I mean, if the employer mandate was so terrific, why would the White House have to delay it and keep delaying it? But as a political issue, is this where Republicans should be going?
Well, I would challenge anybody who called this a political stunt on Boehner's part. I've been just as skeptical about this as Tucker has, but I would challenge anybody by saying that look at what the consequences would be of a Boehner GOP win in this lawsuit. Could Politico just explored this, and there are 5 big points on this lawsuit, saying that this could backfire on the GOP. If they were to win here, you could likely see burden and higher costs on businesses as a result of this at a time where they weren't expecting it, and you could see that going forward as well. So I think that there's skepticism in the right places here, but it could backfire on the GOP, and I think that's something to keep in mind as we continue to watch it go forward.
I do think that this is a legitimate issue. President Obama has been an extra-constitutional president. He has tested the limits of executive power, and my concern is that if we get a president down the road, the precedent's already been set. So I do think this is noteworthy because Obamacare is not popular, and neither is executive overreach.
That's a great point, but I fear that the Republicans will not be able to make that argument as well as as you just
no
did.
confidence in the GOP.
No, I really
Jedediah.
don't. When it comes to messaging and communications and why they're doing this, my fear is that Barack Obama is going to run away with this. He's going to play victim,
right.
and it's going to look like a bunch of political theater. And the people are going to say, you know, why are you bothering with this? Why don't you get down to the nitty-gritty? And Barack Obama is going to run with that line. If the Republican Party were able to successfully market that idea and communicate why they're doing this with the massive executive overreach, and I had confidence in that, I think I might take another position. But today I just don't.
Harris, you're one of our top news anchors here. You follow the media intently. A lot of the news outlets are actually covering this lawsuit by John Boehner. It has made some of the morning shows. Do you think that this could penetrate and resonate with Americans?
Well, this is one of the ways that you would deal with a president that you feel has either broken the law, acted untoward, whatever your feelings are. You either do this, you impeach, and then you have to say, well, which one has the most merit? Where can you go down the road? There's a lot of argument that impeaching the president based on a lot of things like the handling of the Benghazi investigation, that there are some fast and furious investigation, that there are some other ways that Republicans could have gone after him. You know, I do question kind of the timing, though, and it just sort of shook out this way. Just yesterday, Republicans in the House passed the highway funding bill. So it sort of looks like they're ready to do at least a little bit of something with the president. It's unfortunate because it sort of looks like, well, gosh, could they get along? But the other point in this, too, is how much money are we going to pay as taxpayers for this lawsuit? I'm curious about that. And so Republicans are going to have to make a really good, consummate argument about why this is a good idea, particularly if they lose and it costs us money for them to lose.
But Tucker, isn't it important, even though there's going to be a cost to this, to express the importance and message this out of why there needs to be lines delineated between the executive branch and Congress?
Well, it's not just important, it's vital. I mean, this was the single thing that haunted the dreams of the founders, was an overreaching executive. They didn't want a king, period. And the whole system was designed, was set up from the very beginning to prevent that from happening. And the assumption would be that each branch would act in its own interest and hold tightly to its prerogatives. And Congress, for a bunch of reasons, hasn't done that. So I would say, by the way, how did we get here in the first place? Because Congress, to some extent, allowed this to happen, to sit back and be victims and be like, oh, the president's just he's out of control. Really? You're a co-equal branch. I mean, let's just be honest about it.
Do you think it's too late?
I think that people want a strong leader. I think the founders knew that. You're fighting against human nature when you have divided government. People say, oh, this is so messy. They're arguing. Let's just get it done. That's the impulse that leads toward dictatorship. It's not a Democrat or Republican thing. It's a human thing. It's unfortunate.
You know, it's interesting. The Democrats might embrace the talk about the lawsuit today because this is going on. I mean, at least it would be a distraction. We're going to turn now to immigration crisis that's on our southern border. The Obama administration is set to make its sales pitch later today on Capitol Hill. President Obama, as you probably know, wants billions of dollars to help respond to the thousands of children crossing into our nation from Central America and Mexico, crossing over that border. Meanwhile, there's a bipartisan proposal from Republican Senator John Cornyn and Democrat Congressman Henry Cuellar, both from Texas, to speed up deportations. Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, if you haven't heard it, is dismissing. He says our border is secure.
As I've been told, the Cornyn-Cuellar legislation covers a lot of other issues other than the problem we're having at the border. Remember, had we done comprehensive immigration reform, we wouldn't be having this issue. And everyone here, the border is secure. Martin Heinrich talked to the caucus today. He's a border state senator. He said he can say without any equivocation, the border is secure.
Wow. Reid's comments mystifying syndicated columnist Charles Krauthammer.
When you get Harry Reid saying the border is secure,
definitively,
you've got to wonder, whether he's really on his medication or not. I mean, that is so detached from reality.
All right, and then there's this. The Pope Francis is weighing in on what our country is doing with its democracy, if you can believe it, in this issue. The pontiff is calling for urgent intervention to protect the tens of thousands of children who cross the border by themselves. The Pope is weighing in. Tucker?
Well, I'm, as an avid Protestant, I'm going to take a pass on the Pope thing, but I will say, I mean, he's weighing in on the humanitarian crisis developing, and good for him. I think that's his role.
We're supposed to be the beacon, though, for around the world.
I would say, though, the Democrats aren't even pretending anymore. They just want more people in the country, more low-wage workers, because it helps their donors who are rich, and it helps their voting base, because these will all mostly become Democratic donors. I would just quibble with one thing Reid said. If we had immigration reform, comprehensive immigration reform, this wouldn't have happened. If we'd passed that bill, we'd have more low-wage workers coming into this country than we do now.
Let's talk a little bit about the bill. Andrea, it's $3.7 billion right now. I mean, it's grown in the last couple of weeks. It could be bigger as time goes on. $1.8 billion of that is for the care and feeding provisions for these children now who've come illegally unaccompanied into this country. Republicans, some of them are expressing their concern that the president isn't actually trying to fix the problem, because you've got such a huge chunk of that money going to care for these kids rather than getting them back, so on and so forth.
That's right. And if he wants to fix the problem, it's a very simple solution. Seal the border and amend that 2008 law that would make it applicable the same way it makes it applicable for Mexican illegal immigrants to be deported in a rapid fashion. So they're not fixing this. And I'm really sick and tired of Harry Reid and this gossip, hearsay politics, like he did with Mitt Romney. I heard through a friend of a friend. It's like my sorority house. A girl told me in the bathroom that so-and-so did this.
But less
when
appealing.
He said, but not as interesting as the gossip that we used to pass along. But it's not true. We know Mitt Romney paid his taxes. So there goes Harry Reid up again going, I heard through a friend of a friend. The problem with this, Harris, is that the visuals of the illegal immigrants getting on rafts floating to America flies in the face of that. And that's why it will backfire, because people see the footage.
And
they go, is this your plan to turn Texas blue,
trying
Harry
to cross the Rio Grande?
People are watching those pictures, Andrea, and this Gallup poll that was released today actually showing that 17% of the American people now rate the immigration problem as the nation's top problem, okay? 17%. That number has tripled since June, and it now ranks above unemployment and concerns about the economy in the United States. So when you talk about Harry Reid and Charles Krauthammer calling him, out of touch or detached from reality, Harry Reid is not only detached from reality in this situation, he's detached from reality on what the American people want, what they're concerned about, and what their needs are.
What the border actually looks like. It's 1,989 miles. We've secured, at last check, 651 miles of that.
Right.
So if you're spending only about $1 billion to help build more fence line, I mean, Harry Reid's not paying attention. How could it be secure when you have so many holes in it?
He's telling you what he wants to do. He was quoted as saying that he wants to deal with the narrow issue, which means he wants to deal with what's happening right now. Let's take care of those kids. But he's not interested in dealing with the broader issue of border security. They are not interested in making sure this does not happen again. That is not part of the plan, not something they're going to get behind.
All right. Secretary of State John Kerry getting some flack today for saying he does not like it when politicians call the United States exceptional. Well, what's wrong with that? We are special. Plus, Hillary Clinton sits down with Jon Stewart and hints, was it a hint or something else, at a possible 2016 run. What she said that's getting a lot of attention. And right after the show, catch more from the couch on the web. Join us for Outnumbered Overtime, OT, by logging on to foxnews.com/outnumbered. Click on the Overtime tab. Tweet us your questions, comments, or tell us what topic you want to hear more about from the peeps on the couch.